What's going on, y'all? I want to talk about the 1986 music video for King Holiday. And I feel I got to do this video because with everything that's going on with this current administration, I decided to take a break from it, from the noise, and do a positive video. But around 40 years ago, Martin Luther King's birthday finally became a national holiday. And while Reagan, who was the president at the time, signed it into law, he didn't sign it because he was a fan of Dr. King. He actually fought against that holiday for 15 years. He was eventually forced into a corner by the people and signed it with a grudge, even going on TV right before to suggest that Dr. King might have been a communist sympathizer. I mean, talk about hating on somebody. And to celebrate this massive win for the black community, a group of R&B and rap legends who were hot at that time. I'm talking absolute royalty like Run DMC, Whitney Houston, New Edition, El DeBarge, the Fat Boys, and many more. You know, they all came together to make King Holiday, which they recorded under the name the King Dream Chorus and Holiday Crew, because there was also like a gospel choir in that video too, and it should have been a instant classic in my opinion. You know, coming just 1 year after We Are the World, which is a song that everybody knows. But instead, King Holiday is almost treated like a hidden relic, to where if we didn't have YouTube, you know, we have to go on a scavenger hunt to search for it. And the thing about it is that I was just watching this video the other day, and compared to how things are now as far as entertainment, it does feel dated since rap and R&B has changed drastically these past 40 years. And one thing I gotta say is that the reason why a lot of people appreciate old school music so much now is that it's not just the sound or the videos, it's the feel of it too. Because music is probably the closest thing we got to a time machine, because I was young when this first came out. So my memory of 86 is vague, but when I watch it now, I can still feel the energy of that year. And just seeing how normal things were, like seeing how Dexter King was at the Martin Luther King Jr. Center at the beginning, answering those kids' questions and showing them the Nobel Peace Prize and things like that. And that was heavy to me, because I see the GOP today trying to claim that same kind of legacy for themselves, but they'll never reach that same magnitude. And plus, I like the strategy behind the video, because by 86, Dr. King was a global symbol, and the organizers brought in groups like Menudo, a Puerto Rican band that had a young Ricky Martin. And visually, they harmonized everything: the street style of Run DMC, the church trained vocals of Whitney Houston, and the polished pop of Menudo. And it was like the visual birth of a coalition of minorities. But really, though, the most important part to me was that King Holiday showed black people in a position of power. You know, these wealthy, successful black artists is claiming Dr. King for themselves without watering down the message, you know, because unlike We Are the World, there were no, and I don't mean this in a racist or disrespectful way, but there were no white rock stars that were brought in for a different demographic. Like there was no universal watering down of the message. And like I said, I'm not being personal about it, because Tina Marie was in there, and we know Tina Marie was a soul singer, you know, through and through. So she belonged in that room. And the project didn't trade its soul for a crossover hit. That's basically what I'm trying to say. It was a visual of black power that didn't ask for permission. And the disappearance for that video wasn't an accident, I don't think, because there's a major difference in how the mainstream views these two anthems. Because We Are the World felt safe to the mainstream because it showed black people in Africa in a vulnerable position, in the position of need, like, you know, like hunger and poverty, which allowed the mainstream to play the hero. But King Holiday was for the community. It was raw, it was street, it featured the energy of the streets with the human beatboxing, heavy drum machines and gold chains and everything like that. And back in 86, hip hop was considered dangerous then, even before gangster rap, because these mainstream white radio stations, they were scared and terrified of that sound. And that sound became like an automatic no for top 40 stations. You know, those same stations that was playing We Are the World every single hour. But the mainstream eventually caught on when the Beatsy Boys dropped their album later on that year, which was a huge turning point for rap getting accepted by the masses. Because, I mean, Run DMC was really the ones that started with the fire, with Walk This Way, with Aerosmith, but the Beastie Boys were really the ones who finally kicked the door off the hinges a few months later. Both of them had to mix rock with rap to actually get played on mainstream radio. But you got to remember that the Beastie Boys' success was built on a foundation that was laid out by black rappers like Grandmaster Flash and Run DMC. And those brothers who were pioneers in the rap game had been pushing for that same respect and recognition for years before the mainstream finally decided to pay attention. And even black political leaders at the time, I believe, who was more focused on staying professional and respectable. Many of them were suspicious of hip hop. They felt that it was too crude and juvenile and thought it was going to distract folks from the serious goals of the civil rights movement, like a distraction from the dignity of the movement. And there's a piece of history that people don't talk about. Now, we all remember Michael Jackson and We Are the World, but Prince caught all the heat for skipping that session. What they don't tell you is that Prince wasn't into that safe anthem stuff. So he put his money where his mouth was, and he funded the King Holiday video to celebrate a black hero. And though Stevie Wonder was in We Are the World, I still give him credit too. Well, really the most credit, because he truly fought for the King Holiday and gave us that happy birthday song that we still use to celebrate to this day. Not just for Dr. King, but, you know, I've seen people use that song for, you know, family gatherings and friends and things like that. And that song was the blueprint. And while Stevie gave us the anthem of Happy Birthday and Prince provided the funding, King Holiday provided the energy. And the system just wasn't ready to see black excellence claiming its own. That's why they buried the tape and gave us President's Day right next to Martin Luther King Day to remind us who they think the house really belongs to. And We Are the World is a classic that did a lot of good, but King Holiday deserves that same level of respect. We shouldn't let the establishment's spite keep us from our own history. They gave us that Monday, but we own the message. So go find that video, watch Whitney Houston and Run DMC claim that legacy. There's power in the joy. So I'm out. Peace.